what are some of your biggest takeaways from what we learned about this team this offseason? And I don't know if there's much that's changed since the end of spring ball other than the guys that they brought in via the transfer portal. But now that we can kind of take a step back, have a full picture of what this roster looks like, what do you make of Sherrone Moore's first offseason on the job?
Yeah, really busy on the recruiting trail as we knew he would be. He said he was going to be taking the lead with a lot of these recruits, and we've seen that, and I love that. We really won't know obviously until his first year, and maybe beyond that. Remember what happened with Juwan Howard and how he came in, and he felt his way out a little bit, and then year two had a great year in the COVID year. So the results are really going to be on the field and what he does going forward. A lot of people are going to say that he inherited Jim Harbaugh's program and his team, and I think that's fair. At the same time, Sherrone Moore was a big part of that. So, and I think he kept the culture intact as much as he could. He's going to put his own twist on some things clearly, but at the same time, this guy is his own man. So, and all the kids say it too. They are very excited to see what he does with these guys and with this team, and how he goes about with the offense and what he does. So we'll see. But everything he's done so far has impressed me.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him, I mean, you can only hit so many benchmarks when you haven't been in the big chair before. But when you look at the conviction in which he's acted in terms of filling out his coaching staff, I mean, really from the spring game felt as familiar as it ever has. The competition was good. I thought the depth through several units of the team were good. Um, there were some things he had to handle with Greg Scruggs and Denard Robinson, and I felt like he acted pretty quickly on the front on those fronts there. And for a guy that was kind of drinking out of the fire hose, so to speak, we talked to him at Wayne State about a month and a half ago at this point. And just kind of finally feels at ease, and it doesn't feel like it's too much for him to handle. Now, the biggest part of the job is going to come when they do play these games. But when you look at operationally, I think everything pretty much looks and feels the same. I think from a roster perspective, I know in the transfer portal, everyone was kind of hoping that they'd go out and land QB1 and they'd go get a star wide receiver, but they address their needs. I think in the secondary now, with some of the losses that they've had, and obviously the injury to Rod Moore, I think that is one of the strengths of your team now, given the additions that they made. So just a really, really well-rounded offseason. And like I said, it feels like, for a while it felt like a couple steps back, which there was always going to be a drop-off for Jim Harbaugh, from Jim Harbaugh, I should say. But it feels like things are on the up and up, and this program has momentum heading into the most critical part of his first year yet.
And a lot of it, the judging is going to come on how that quarterback performs, right? If, for example, the quarterback is the one thing holding this team back from being a contender or from being a playoff team, then you're going to have a lot of people saying, why didn't you get your quarterback in the portal? And I that won't be unfair, because we were wondering the same thing. And part of it, JJ McCarthy didn't decide until later on. It was going to be tough until it was clear that JJ was moving on, that, okay, we need a quarterback. But they seem to think that they've got the guy in the room, and they've said multiple times, we've got several D1 starters on our roster. Jack Tuttle, we've heard good things about in terms of summer ball, and which really doesn't mean a whole lot. It does mean that accuracy in 7-on-7s is important, and he's more accurate than Alex Orji at this point. Alex Orji still has several weeks, and he talked to you with a great interview, I thought, Anthony, about what he was working toward to be that starting quarterback. But to me, that's what it's all going to come down to. They've got pieces everywhere else. If you look at the offensive line, 4 stars, 5 stars even, defensive line, best in the country. You look at the depth on defense, outstanding. I think that offensive line is going to be very good. Wide receivers, you've got 4 stars across the board, right? And so to me, that's what it's going to come down to, Kirk Campbell and the way they use these guys. If you are going to go with Alex Orji, then you better have an offense tailored to him and not trying to make it a Denard Robinson in a passing offense type of deal again, right? Like we saw several years ago. So, but there's plenty of talent here to in my opinion, and plenty of pride in this program. These guys want to repeat, and they believe they can. And speaking with many of them in the offseason, look at Donovan Edwards, for example. You've got a loaded running back room. So to me, it's going to come down to that. And, there are going to be some critics. If he loses more than 3 games, I think everybody's saying, kind of set the bar, Anthony, at 9-3 and said, okay, below that, going to be disappointed in you. Above that, this thing, boy, we're going to give you all your props. But 9-3 to me is what you really have to achieve in year one to keep from taking a step back.
Yeah, 9-3 feels right. I think depending on the sports book you look at right now, I think most have them at 9 or 9.5. And uh, football preview, spoiler alert, I said 10-2. I think they'll win that Texas game. But yeah, I think that when it comes to reestablishing yourself as a program that's going to be in the conversation. Now, what in the conversation is different now because there is no Big Ten championship game. There is a 12-team college football playoff. And I think that's good. I mean, that was a special group last year. And that's not we probably won't ever see a team that loaded, that talented, and that able to go undefeated again. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter is the math is against them in that regard. So to reestablish on that front again, I think that if you summed up the offseason as kind of reestablishing what they are, what their identity is going to be, I think that'd probably be a good way to put it.